Hello, hello, and welcome. It is Friday today. Your experience may vary. If you're in the Eastern States, it may be Thursday night, but for me, it's Friday. I love a Friday because we get to do Fundamentalist fails. So, welcome to some of the weirdest and silliest takes. And my camera's slightly out of focus again. I do apologize. It happens to the best of us, quite frankly. Bam. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so welcome back, or welcome for the first time for Fundamentalist Fails. Today I doing something a bit different today. I do acknowledge that. I wouldn't really call Ben Shapiro except for a fundamentalist. Maybe he's a fundamentalist conservative, like his right-leaning values are kind of fundamentalist, but it is a bit of a misnomer because I don't think he's a fundamentalist like, say, for instance, Kent Hovind is a fundamentalist. He believes that his views are unchallengeable and inerrant. Maybe not as sort of fundamentalist religious wise, and so it is a bit of a misnomer under today's thing. But my wife did send me this clip and it was ridiculous and said, "Oh, do you want to do that on your show?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? Who cares, right? Like, seriously, why not? Why not? Let's look at fundamentalist right wingers." Sure, that sounds like a laugh. And quite frankly, it kind of irritated me because Ben Shapiro is one of the most inconsistent, um, just ridiculous people I've ever seen. And this clip was terrible. So it isn't especially long. So I grabbed another one, and unfortunately, my downloading program is not working for YouTube specifically, which is kind of really annoying, quite frankly, like really annoying. So I'm going to have to play it off YouTube, which I don't usually do. I usually have a bit of control over it. But we've got Shapiro here on YouTube in all of his, quote unquote glory, all of his alleged glory, talking about those SMSs which came through from the Republican Party and the Young Republicans, basically mask offing. Let's just say they're going all mask off, like seriously, 100% mask off. And I'll go through sort of the consequences of that, or the actual, what was reported on that, because it is kind of disturbing. So, big warning for this one, trigger warning. We're going to be talking about prejudice and things. If you don't feel like you can cope with, more hate from the right wing, I totally understand. I really do. You might want to get another stream because this stuff is pretty horrible. And I found it egregiously horrible. And quite frankly, you need a strong stomach to deal with Ben Shapiro in the first place. So, and there's a couple of things I want to point out in this clip, just a couple of ridiculous things that come through. But we'll start her up, and I will let you know what I think. That's not the tab that I wanted. My apologies. Start screen. I should have just replaced it. That's okay. That's all right. That one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Maybe I can. Hmm. Maybe. Maybe. Hmm. Okay. So I'm not sure why it's thing, but I'll start in on it, and we'll talk about what happened, what his response, and why his response is so egregious. In a second. Now, look, this is Shapiro. He talks fast. We'll have to break it down. But just for review purposes, I will keep it on normal speed because he does talk so fast, and it isn't a long clip. It's only like 8 minutes, so it should be fine. But yeah, let's get going and look at this disaster.
I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat.
Well, there's my monetization going. Cheers. Yeah, that's basically it. Goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah. So like I said, this is not going to be a particularly So what he's talking about is a reporting by Politico here that the young Republicans racist chat. Now, some of these young Republicans, it's not like they're babies or something. It's not like they're sort of not associated with the current Republicans. That some of them are actually in government, right? Like, some of them are actually sort of involved in the government. So it's not like they're removed from the current administration. This Dandry Herbert, sort of, um, is aware of the chat. They're chairs of certain stuff. They're Young Republican National Federation chairs. They're really involved with this administration. This is a couple of them have been, you know, celebrated on the 6th annual Rising Stars reception for young Republicans, kind of thing. This is the future of the Republican Party, okay, and it is horrifying. So, what's like? We'll go through a couple of them again. I do want to say, trigger alert. This stuff is horrible, right? So William Hendricks, the Young Republicans vice chair, used the N-word, variations of the racial slur, more than a dozen times. They used the F slur to describe gay people. So all of the slurs under the sun, like just absolute racism, bigotry, prejudice, whole swaths of this. So once we're referring to an upcoming vote on whether he should become chair of the Young Republican National Federation. Hold it, I'll just zoom in. I do realize that's a little small for you if you do want to read it. The GOP's 15,000 member political organization. Republicans between 18 and 40. So this is the new up and coming. Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber, and everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber. Right. It is absolutely ridiculous. When do we start bullying, dude? We have a solid 3 people who can probably have them want to jump. So what they're talking about is using other members in the organization to coerce votes for this member by basically bullying. If they vote for us, why would they be gassed? When do we bring that side out? I'm going to create some of the greatest psychological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers. Can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the... Yeah. So I'm ready to watch people burn now. We got to pretend that we like them. Hey, come on in, take a nice shower, relax. Boom, they're dead. And this is sort of the stuff, can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. Joe Magnolino, who previously identified himself as the general counsel for the New York State Young Republicans. Like, seriously. They basically, it's 2,900 pages of chat. So it wasn't just one thing. And they're sort of anti-Semitic, violent rhetoric comes up. But they sort of one of the more interesting things, and this is it. They spoke freely about the pressure to cow to Trump to avoid being called a rhino, which that is Republican in name only, not a real Republican, right? So it's very strange what has happened. No, Jin, no, there was almost 3,000 pages of this, 2,900 pages. It wasn't almost 300. It was almost 3,000. Right? That's the thing. This isn't like this is just one conversation or this is just a joke on. No, this is the normal way they conduct themselves. Like talking about this kind of thing. The love of Nazis within their party's right wing, and the president's alleged work to suppress documents relating to wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein's child sex crimes. Right? Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files, Alex Dwyer, the chair of the Kansas Young Republicans, wrote in one instance. Right? They know that Trump is suppressing the Epstein files because he's in them. And they don't care. That's my opinion. Right? Like, it is that they're very, very aware that the extreme right-wing part of the government has these sentiments in it, these fascist sentiments in it. They're very aware of that, right? And they're aware that Trump is burning the Epstein files, that he's trying to get rid of them. And they just like accept that as given. It's wild. This is some of the wildest stuff. Now, Gwynter, who was one of the people involved in the chat, this absolute nightmare of a human being here, claimed the release of the chat is part of a highly coordinated year-long character assassination. Okay, just for your information, these have been confirmed as coming from the Young Republicans, and they traced back the origin of them to the phone numbers of these people. It has absolutely been confirmed, right? It's been absolutely confirmed that these are the people that sent those messages. So they're led by Gavin Wax and the New York City Young Republican Club, an allusion to a once obscured internecine war that is now spilled into the open. Right, so you have these conservatives who used to be part of the old Republican Party, who basically they're fighting, or they used to be fighting, and I would agree with you, Vesta, yes. But there used to be a whole bunch of people who were Republican, like, for instance, who was that? Oh, I keep alluding to him. He never dropped his sort of criticism of Trump. It was the guy who criticized Trump, but I think he was a Mormon from memory. Sorry, I cannot remember his name. I cannot remember his name. God, that's terrible. Mormon Republican. God, I've had a mental blank. Mitt Romney, yeah, right. So Mitt Romney, and there is something called the Lincoln Project who attacks Trump because they're sort of the more, they were sort of the more reasonable Republicans who actually think that MAGA has completely stolen their movement. You know, absolutely stolen their party. The MAGA movement has sort of taken it over, and it's not left. And you're right, it's all MAGA now, and that is correct. Yes, yeah, Mitt Romney. Yes. Um, so he's sort of saying, hey, it's all of these people that are attacking. It's not. This has been sort of sourced back to them. Despite his allusions to infighting, Gwynter still apologized. I'm so sorry to those offended by the insensitive and inexcusable language found within the more than 28,000 messages of a private group chat that I created during my campaign to lead the... While I take complete responsibility, I have no way of verifying their accuracy, and I'm deeply concerned the message logs in question may have been deceptively doctored. So he's basically saying, sorry for saying all of this crap, but it wasn't me. Then why are you apologizing, my guy? Like, seriously, this is ridiculous. At least one person works in the Trump administration, Michael Bartels, serves as senior advisor in the Office of General Counsel within the U.S. Small Business Administration. He declined to comment on it, just didn't say anything. And the entire chat logs have been released. It's absolutely, so this is the thing. He believes that portions of the chat may have been altered, taken out of context, or otherwise manipulated, but also apologized. Yeah, that's like F word for gays, R word, N word appeared more than 251 times. Incredible. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. But also, their sort of back of extreme right fascists is just all over it. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Um, Restore a War Room is what the group chat was called. And this is William Hendricks. Bro was at a chicken restaurant ordering his food. Would he like some watermelon and Kool-Aid with that? That is disgusting racism. Just on show, this piece of crap just being a racist. Just, yeah. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. But but this is what Ben Shapiro is talking about, right? So being a Jewish person himself, and very critical of what happened to Jewish people during World War II, you would expect that he would be really outraged. Surprise, he's outraged. You'll never guess at what.
Okay, so as we'll see, it is questionable about whether that actual line, I love Hitler, was sort of said in jest or whether it was said sort of authentically, right?
Okay. What you've got to remember is it wasn't just that line, okay? It's also talking about taking out people that do not support you in much the same way as Hitler did, right? Like you had the Night of Long Knives, where Hitler took out all of the people that could be a threat to him, as well as all of the people that didn't support him within his own party, right? Like, this is what we're talking about. It's not just, hey, this is what we're going to do, and I love Hitler kind of thing. Holy crap, that's bad though. And just what amazes me though is got nothing to say about all of the racial slurs that came out against other people. And you'll see that he's concerned about one thing. You'll never guess what it is.
All those pieces of the chat have been released by Politico. So here is the story. Quote, leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyway. They referred to black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believed support slavery. William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, used the words N-word with an A at the end and N-word with a U-H at the end, variations on the N-word itself, more than a dozen times in the chat. Bobby Walker, the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans at the time, referred to as epic. Peter Giunta, who at the time was chair of the same organization, wrote in a message sent in June that everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. Giunta was referring.
Yeah. And just laughing about how great it was, kind of thing. It's from a Jewish guy, so what I want you to imagine is if this came out about young Democrats, right? If they'd been saying this stuff, and this is where Ben Shapiro is really inconsistent, because even just basically saying, hey, I don't like what the Israeli government is doing to the Palestinian people, that's anti-Semitism, right? Like, as soon as it is even suggested that the Israeli government is doing something wrong, he cries anti-Semitic. And that's not even a disparagement against Jewish people. That's saying, hey, the government sucks and is doing illegal actions. Yet these Republicans can basically joke about sending people to the gas chamber, and he doesn't care. It's just like this, oh, well, I'm not even sure they were being serious. What? But, wow. I don't know what is wrong with this guy. When they're sort of happy that the people of their party, the right-wing MAGA people, are actually so full of fascism, they're happy about it.
To an upcoming vote on whether he should become chair of the Young Republican National Federation, the GOP's 15,000-member political organization for Republicans between 18 and 40 years old. Now, a lot of this is edgelordism. It has been existing on the
edgelordism. So basically saying that you're going to psychologically bully all of the people who are voting into voting for you by carrying out psychological torture on them. right? That's just edgelordism. I don't think it is. This is what they try to claim when Trump, oh, he's just being edgy and making a joke. No, he's not. And these kids aren't either. They're literally talking about bullying people into voting for them because that's what they see Trump doing. That's exactly what they see him doing. Bullying people into getting him into power. It's not fucking sophisticated. It's rather obvious, actually. That's what he's doing. So, but it's just edgelord. When I say, hey, I don't like what Israeli government's doing to the Palestinians. Oh, that's anti-Semitic somehow. I don't know how because I'm not criticizing the Jew. Most Jewish people are against Netanyahu. They don't like him. He's barely holding on to government as it is. But, criticizing what the government's doing is not anti-Semitism at all. It's the government I'm criticizing, not the Jewish people. I've got no problem with the Jewish people. I've got a problem with what the government's doing. The funny thing is that most Jewish people have a problem with what the government's doing as well. That's the thing. But, you can then, basically say how much you love Hitler, and he goes, oh, it's just edgelordism. Wow, imagine if a Democrat posted that in the Young Democrats, right? Would it just be edgelordism then? No, of course not. It would be the anti-Semitic Democrats are threatening, who love Hitler. You know what I mean? Think about it. If this was part of the Democrat side rather than the Republican side, imagine imagine the baby fit this man would have. But no, it's his side, so he really doesn't care.
Right, particularly among young right-wingers for a very long time. I remember going 2015, 2016, I was speaking at some college campus in California, and some kid came over and started using some Groyper memes. And he was doing it in jest. And I said to him, listen, I understand that you're just being an edgelord right now, but I'm just telling you, if you put that stuff online, if you put that stuff in chats, if you actually authentically think that stuff, first of all, you're wrong. But second of all, if you put that stuff online, there are social consequences to saying and believing truly terrible things.
Yeah, well, there should be for you as well, Ben. You've said some pretty terrible things over the time. And in case this isn't long enough, we've got another one where he basically accuses a Democratic senator of being a terrorist, or the mayor of New York of being a terrorist. Why don't you, turn that back round for yourself? You call left-wing people communists and terrorists and all of this kind of stuff, which you're wrong. Again, you're wrong, and it should come back to haunt you.
Again, I'm not talking here about whether we should ban people from Facebook. Obviously, the answer is no. Whether we should ban people from YouTube.
And this is where it comes in going, oh, well, I understand this language is terrible. You shouldn't use that language or else it's going to come back to haunt you. But we shouldn't ban them from Facebook because he wants to be the champion of free speech. But guess what? I think somebody who basically talks about putting people in gas chambers should be banned from Facebook. Yes, I absolutely think they should be. I think that people doing hate speech shouldn't be allowed a platform in which to do it. I think that that is horrible. I think that Jewish people seeing that, especially survivors of the Holocaust, are going to be incredibly upset. Because for what I hope is obvious reasons, what I don't get is why Ben Shapiro, the champion of Jewish people, allegedly, is not upset. I don't understand that. I think he actually is. He just has to back the MAGA movement, the Republican Party, no matter what. I think he knows that if he doesn't toe the line, if he doesn't step up and say, oh no, but we can't hold this against the MAGA people because they were just being groypers. By the way, a groyper is it was a movement started on 4chan, I think, in order to hassle people and be edgy kind of thing. He's basically saying, oh well, they're just having a laugh. The funny thing is that if it was the Democrats, he would absolutely lose his mind, and this is the problem.
YouTube or X. I've argued in favor of the restoration of people's accounts on these platforms because they are platforms. They are not, in fact, publications. However, in your life, there are social consequences to people who say things that you believe are terrible. They don't get to come over to dinner at your house, for example. They don't get to marry your kids, or you don't date them. Right? We all have social lines that we draw.
This is weird too, because it sounds like your kids need your approval to marry somebody. Right? Like, this is the weird thing about that. They'll trot out this stuff that's so weird because he's like, they don't get to marry your kids. Well, just say your child fell in love with one of those. How would you stop them? Like, you can't, like, once they're adults, you can't stop them from marrying who they want. Like, you feel like it's so weird, right? Like, it is so, they trot out this stuff like we're living back in the you know, the Old Testament times, like, oh, if you don't want your daughter to marry this guy, there's, you know, she can't, she's not allowed to, she needs your permission first. Guess what, Ben? They don't. Like, how are you going to stop them? It's so weird. I want to point out how weird these people are, because if they don't want to you know, if they don't get to marry your child, really? Do you have some power to stop it? Like, you might not pay for the wedding and stuff. It's so strange, right? Like, because, you know, I would understand, like, a normal person would say, oh, you might not approve of them marrying your child, you know, but he says they're not, if they might want to marry their child and they can't. I'm sorry. What year is it? It's weird. It's weird.
All the time. And the question is where to draw those lines and how those lines ought to be drawn. Listen, there's no question that the shutting tight of the Overton window by the left means that the explosion of...
No, the Overton window doesn't... The shutting tight of the Overton window... Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, we crack down on hate speech because of the damage it does to society and the unrest it causes into society. Australia's got a really good handle on this. When you live in a multicultural society, you can't just allow people to be wantonly racist everywhere because it causes those rifts in society. We just banned Candace Owens from coming to Australia. Like, she applied for a visa and the government went, nah, you speak and you cause too much divisiveness among the population. You can get effed, right? You can F right off. There is no way we are letting somebody into the country that's going to speak vile racism and cause dissent and cause division between people. You can forget about it, which we have a right to do. We don't have to have people that use hate speech in our country and would rather not. Thank you. She appealed to the highest court in the land, and the highest court upheld their right to say, no, you're not welcome here. And they also forced Candace Owens to pay the government's legal bills. So enjoy that one. Enjoy that one.
The Overton window has let in an enormous amount of garbage. That is just a reality. And it is the case that this sort of...
Let in an enormous amount of garbage? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. Like, if he's describing people as garbage, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. Obviously, we have immigration controls kind of thing. We don't just let in anybody kind of thing. You got to apply for a visa. Like usual, you can't just move to another country with, you know, just because you like being there. You have to apply for a visa. You know, and there's things that'll trip you up if you go around. Like, for instance, Andrew Wilson decided to yell stuff at me, sort of racist stuff about the native Australians, and sort of use racist language about them. That's the kind of thing where they will not allow you into Australia if that's what you're going to be doing. There's no way. Like, seriously. There are really good people over here that also happen to be native Australian. Get over it. They're good mates. You know, don't bring that crap over here to try and make this idea that we have to fight one another. We don't. We can all get along. But I don't know what he's talking about here. Some garbage. Are you talking about immigrants? You know, I don't know.
Language is routinely used now among some segment, not all, not even a majority, but among some fragmented segment of the right-wing ecosystem among young people. I mean, that is
not just among young people. Like, don't you remember Trump saying, like talking about shithole countries, and I'm sure they're, Mexico is sending us all of these criminals and horrible people, and some I presume are good people. Like, this isn't even a non-mainstream right-wing idea. Like, the problem is that what Shapiro is doing is he is ignoring the racism, the misogyny, the other bigotry, and focusing just on anti-Semitism. Right? That's all he's focused on because it affects him. The other stuff doesn't affect him, so he doesn't care. He doesn't give a crap.
a reality. My work schedule has been incredibly busy as of late.
So this is where he jumps in, and I think his yarmulke has actually grown in size. Did his yarmulke grow? Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's a wild growth there. Holy crap! All right. Well, I mean, sure. But he's just basically
capsule. You take your fruit and veggie capsules every day, and then your body knows precisely what to do with them. It's kosher.
Yeah, this is the real right-wing thing. Like, buy my DVDs, right? Buy my DVDs. I'm going to skip the ad because holy crap.
So here is what I hope will represent an honest rubric for dealing with issues like this.
What is an honest rubric for dealing with issues like this? Like, you can't condemn them for saying, hey, these people should be thrown out of the party. This is unacceptable on any level. Like, just, put aside the misogyny, the racism, and this is for almost 3,000 pages of vile, disgusting comments. You can't criticize them for it because you've got to defend your party. But the anti-Semitic stuff, okay, so what's the rubric? What is the solution to this in your own party? Something that you would be on about for weeks on end if it came from the Democratic side. If there was a hint of anti-Semitism from the Democratic side, this guy would be up in arms, demanding they be, castrated. All right, I'm over-exaggerating. It'd probably say they need to be fired, taken out, their political careers need to end because of how dangerous what they're saying is. Yeah, you know it's true that if this came from the Democrats, Fox News would be playing it over and over and over.
One, obviously, it is very cynical for Politico to target young GOP group chats while leaving left-wing chats untouched. Because I promise you, these same left-wing chats exist. They're just as bad, if not worse.
Evidence, please. Evidence, please. I don't think they are. I don't think, if they are, we need to bring those to light as well, right? Like, I don't know where this came from, right? I don't know where this came from. I don't know who leaked it. And I don't believe that the Democratic side would be as racist, misogynist, and anti-Semitic as these guys. I don't think so. But that is a claim that you need to back up, right? Like, you're basically saying, hey, the Democrats do it too. The name of this fallacy is a tu quoque que. It's and you also, right? It's excusable because you do it too. No, it's not. Number one, you have no evidence of that. If there is evidence, I'd love it to come out. I don't have a dog in the race. I'm not even from the country. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. So you need to provide evidence of that, number one. Number two, even if the Democrats, young Democrats did it as well, it does not excuse the Republicans from doing it. This is whataboutism, also known as the tu quoque que, and you also. This is a feature of Russian talking points. It always has been. They basically go, well, what about your side doing it as well? But in this case, he doesn't even have evidence of that. He's just claiming it. And I don't think it would be as bad as the Republican guys. But hey, and why does Politico target them? Maybe they're the ones that are doing it. I don't know. I haven't been in young Democrat chats. But I think that if it was happening in there, at least one person would be spilling the beans about it. At least one person. And look, excuse me, look, the young Democrats wouldn't have half the knowledge of what is going on in the Trump administration as the young Republicans would. Like, the young Republicans alluded to how Trump is burning the Epstein files right now. He's trying to get rid of the evidence. Young Democrats wouldn't know that, and that's concerning as well. But he doesn't touch on that because, spoiler alert, it doesn't affect him, which is the hypocrisy of people like this.
There are university chats among professors that are just as bad, if not worse. All of that is true. All of that is true. 2.
No, it's not. And I want you to provide evidence for your claim, because you're basically blanket claiming that in these chats of young Democrats and professors and people on the left, they're talking about gas chambers, psychological manipulation, vote fixing, destruction of evidence by the administration. They're racist, they're misogynist. Can you please demonstrate that? You can't just say, oh, that is true. It is true. It's just please, evidence. Evidence, please.
The right doesn't have an obligation to go totally insane over such chats. Okay, what the left likes to do and what the media love to do is they love to take stuff like this and then they say to every member of the Republican Party, you must personally condemn all of this. And the answer should be, I'm happy to condemn the crap in there, but
no, it is much more than that. It is a case of, why do you not condemn this behavior, yet you will condemn way less from the other side? You will condemn somebody calling Trump an authoritarian, but you won't condemn literal Hitler idolizing from your own side. That's the hypocrisy. That is the thing that we are pointing out. There will be these horrendous statements from people on your side, and you don't care. You just don't care. Whereas anything said, even if it's accurate, I mean, you've got Trump, a guy who is sending the military into cities, and we're saying, hey, that's authoritarian, and you are losing your minds about it. It's ridiculous.
why am I responsible for it? I'm not responsible for that. Well, why is the implication even that I'm responsible for that?
Everybody's responsible. Right. So here's the thing. No one's blaming you for it. Okay, Shapiro? We've got to separate the thing of blame and responsibility. You are not to blame if somebody in your party, right? Like, you're in a political party. It is a movement that supports a various amount of ideas that all converge along a certain political foundation that supports certain issues and, opposes certain other issues. That's fine. But you're all part of a political party. You're all a member of this party, right? No, if somebody over there says, hey, Hitler's great, you're not to blame for that. You didn't say it. You're not to blame. Now let's talk about responsibility. Even if you didn't do it, you are responsible for making sure it is not one of the ideas that is supported within your political party, right? Or allowed to be thrown around in your political party. Because that kind of thing is nasty. It's horrible. If you say that, hey, that isn't something welcome in our it is your responsibility to make sure it is condemned. That's how you exercise these fringe beliefs, if they even are fringe beliefs, because I see a lot of similar ones coming out from a lot of people in the Republican Party. If it is a fringe belief, that's how you oust it. Now, it's the same as if you work in like I've talked about blame versus responsibility before. Just quickly, if you work in a job and your co-worker over there makes a mistake and somebody comes up to you, a customer comes up to you and says, hey, this is wrong, you've got to fix it. You aren't to blame for that mistake. Somebody over there did it. You're not to blame. But you are responsible. And what I'm saying is that if you're part of a political party and somebody says something that is way out of line with what your political party believes and endorses, it is your responsibility to speak up. Yes, it is. Because if you are not speaking up, you are tacitly accepting that speech within a political party. That's how it works. So if somebody in the Democrats says, "Hey, we've got to use a psychological operation against Republicans," and the other Democrats don't go, "Oh, well, that's not really appropriate," then they are tacitly endorsing it. That's what we're talking about. So, I think that he doesn't understand how responsibility works. No one's blaming you. The only thing we blame you for is basically trying to cover for this horrible behavior.
I don't believe it. And your implication that everyone on the right is responsible for a group of young...
No, not everyone on the right, just the people in that political party, just the people who are a member of that organization. And you expect the same thing from us, right? Like every time something bad happens or somebody says something horrible, you expect us to do the same. We're responsible for what anyone on the left does. Hell, every single trans person is apparently responsible for what any other trans person does. They've got to condemn it or else they are complicit in it. And this is how the right works. They will apply a standard of behavior to the other side and then ignore it for themselves. And that's exactly what Ben Shapiro here is doing. Because he damn well expects, if this behavior came out on the left, he would damn well expect anybody on the left to condemn it. And probably rightly so. If the young Democrats said this, it would be the responsibility of the Democratic Party that the young Democrats are part of to condemn that kind of language. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Republicans who say terrible things in private to one another. That somehow that implicates the entire Republican Party, while meanwhile the Attorney General candidate in Virginia publicly says things, and that doesn't implicate the entire Democratic Party.
What does he say? I want to know what he says. Of course, was it as bad as sort of gas chambers? I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, or Zoran Mamdani is going to be your New York mayor. And that dude is just openly pro-terrorism.
Okay, so Zoran Mamdani, I looked this guy up. There is nothing I can see about him that's pro-terrorism. This is the thing. Number one, again, we've got the tu quoque, we've got whataboutism. They endorse this guy, and I'm calling him pro-terrorist. I don't know why. From as far as I can see, he's advocated for things like free public transport and access to clinics and things like this, like food services and things. I don't know what Ben Shapiro is frigging talking about. I have no idea how he would be pro-terrorism. Like, this seems to be he's a Middle Eastern guy. I think he's like, I don't understand how Mamdani is like, if he could explain how you worked that one out. I don't know. I have no idea. I did look up his thing. He used to be an actor. He won the 36th district. He became the mayor. I don't know what the hell he is talking about. How is he pro terrorism? Is it because he did a rent freeze to help people? Maybe he's terrorism against rent? I don't know. It's so wild that he's saying, hey, and what happened to the thing after Charlie Kirk, right? Like saying, oh, we've got to tone down on the rhetoric, says the right. We've got to tone down on calling each other name, says the right. Like all of these people are calling for, Ben Shapiro was saying, hey, it's because of this rhetoric that you're firing off. And then he goes, oh, he's pro-terrorism, without any explanation of how he is, just launching these names.
Like, obviously there is a difference. This Politico story, which is gaining all sorts of traction, is not in fact comparable to actual people running for high office in Virginia or in New York City or the Democratic Party at high levels engaging with this sort of nonsense.
I don't understand, like, what is it that this person said that was running for Virginia that was so egregious? Is it just you disagree with them? Is that it? Is that what constitutes anti-Semitic now? You just disagree with them? I don't know, because I don't know what they said and what Mamdani said or did that would count as pro-terrorist. It's wild. It's absolutely wild that you're equating misogyny, racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, extolling the virtues of the worst human being in the entire history of the world with a guy who's freezing rent. And, and he's saying, obviously there's a difference. Then why are you bringing it up? Like, I don't know what Ben Shapiro is talking about. Because he's basically saying, hey, the entire Democratic Party is implicit for endorsing Mamdani. Yeah, what's he done that's so wrong? Oh, it's not the same thing. Well, then what are you complaining about? He never actually says. How is he pro-terrorist? Oh, he makes things better for poor people. That's terrible. That's terrorism, in my opinion. Well, yeah, of course the Democrats are going to endorse that. That is a good thing. As far as they can see, they don't have a problem with endorsing that. I'm sure the people who he's helping by freezing rent and providing free public transport and trying to help people won't have a problem with it either. But that is a far cry from saying that you are just waiting to gas people. Seriously, I don't know what the hell this guy's mind. It is unfathomable. It really is. And I think the fact that he had an ad, I mean, I'm not going to hassle someone for having an ad, but look, he's got his book on display. I think it's just, this is his shtick. He will just go, oh, the Democrats do way worse. I will guarantee you, if you looked at young Democrats chat, it will not be as bad as young Republicans. It's not going to be. I'm not going to say it's going to be, perfect and roses and sparkles, but it won't be as bad as that. I can almost guarantee it.
Third,
hi, Maya.
When you're asked about somebody saying a bad thing, whether you're right or you're left, of course you ought to condemn the bad thing that is being said. I don't even understand the logic of not doing that.
Okay, so that's contradictory with what you've said before, because you're sort of saying, hey, these things are morally based. You ought to condemn them. But before you were saying, why should all Republicans condemn this? Like we've got a responsibility to. But you've just said you ought to condemn them, which is a moral responsibility. So Ben Shapiro is directly contradicting what he just said here. He said, number one, why do you expect people to condemn this behavior? And then he said, well, when people say this thing, you ought to condemn them. So you're not talking about just Republicans here. You're talking about people in general. Because it's a moral distinction. You're saying they ought to. So which is it, Ben? Should you say, well, no one has morally no one should condemn it, because they don't have to. It's not a moral obligation. And then you're saying people ought to condemn it. It's a moral obligation. Maybe it's a moral virtue. It's optional. I don't think it is. I think staying silent on something this egregious would be immoral. It would be.
Are you obligated to defend the bad thing being said because the person who is questioning you is somehow, quote unquote, on the other side? Because that's precisely how you get to a left that defends Jay Jung.
That's what you're doing. If this came from the left, Ben would be up in arms. Right? And people on the left have said egregious things and we've criticized them. That's what we do. But, tell me all about Jay Johnson.
That's how you get there. That's how you get to a left that openly defends Zoran Mamdani. Fourth, forgiveness ought to be...
I defend Zoran... What has he said? I don't understand. I don't get what Zoran Mamdani had said that is so egregious? I don't understand why um I don't understand. I really don't. Like, he said that he believed the phrase spoke to a desperate desire for equality and equal rights and standing up for Palestinian human rights. Is that what you're talking about? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Every day in Gaza has become a place where grief itself has run out of language. I I don't understand how that is a bad thing. I I'm so why do they hate this guy? Like, yeah, so Fox and Friends claim that Madami despises America and everything we stand for. I don't see any evidence of this. I really don't. I really don't. I I am so I, like, what has he said, Ben? That's so egregious.
Easily obtained, as I've said. But if you want forgiveness, you actually ought to ask for it. You actually ought to dissociate from the things that you say. I was saying stuff that was dumb. I got caught up in the edgelord moment online. Like, whatever it is. But this sort of preemptive forgiveness that people are willing to grant to their own side. You
Yeah, strange that. But don't forget that all of these guys, they're going, oh, we think it may be doctored. It was fake. It was made up. But we're sorry about it. Like, that's what they're doing. But you're stepping in to defend them, even though they're going, oh, well, we're sorry if it offended anybody, but we've got concerns that may be doctored. That is not taking responsibility for your actions, Ben. I hate to break it to you. That is not taking response. It's basically saying, hey, we're going to leave it open to claim it was doctored afterwards.
only get out of jail free if you ask to do so. You don't get it just because, like, preemptively. So you say something terrible, or you do something terrible, and people just preemptively forgive you.
I don't understand how we're preemptively forgiving anybody. I, I, are you talking about Biden pardoning his family? Because I spoke out and said he shouldn't have done that. That's a horrible thing to do. Like, you're basically making a life raft for your own family. And, people like Jon Stewart spoke out about it. Is that what you're talking about? Preemptively forgiving people? I don't know, because I don't know what he's on about. Because generally on the left, we don't preemptively forgive people. I don't know what kind of crap he's pulling out of his ass right now. You mean, pardoning people from January 6th, maybe, who go on to commit various crimes and then plan various crimes? You mean that kind of preemptive forgiveness? I don't know. It's weird. It's so strange. Yeah, I'm so sorry I couldn't hang around. I really would have loved to, Justin, but, I had something on, mate, which you can obviously see, so I don't know why I'm telling you that. No, Ben Shapiro is a walking contradiction. He just contradicts himself all the time. And projection, like, he's just sort of projecting this onto all of these things. I understand. I understand. I get what you're saying, but the damage that it did was significant. It was significant. If you have something that is a moral standard, you can't just apply it for yourself. I'm really sorry. Your family doesn't deserve it. I get that. Does not deserve it. But using your power to provide a lifeline for yourself that is not the right use of the power. Absolutely not. I'm sorry, it isn't.
All that is an incentivization to do more of that thing. And I will say, finally, it actually is not sufficient to publicly proclaim you're not going to condemn these people while you don't say anything about their comments and instead just project to the other side. Because strategically, on a strategic level, this is how your party ends up being taken over by the ambulatory psychotics. Okay, I want to look at the left because that's how it happened.
The ambulatory psychotics. Okay, Dr. Ben Shapiro, what have you got to tell us about, psychotic behavior? Like seriously, this is I don't understand like how they can at one event happens, they basically go, we've got to cut down on this kind of language. We've got to stop telling each other that they're this and that and they're fascists and they're totalitarians and they're all these things. And all of these people are ambulatory psychotics. Like, you bunch of hypocrites. You want to stop the rhetoric on the left. You don't want to stop it. And this is something that we see in a lot of young earth creationists. I'm thinking of Hovind directly. When he says, stop this, he's not talking about himself, right? When he says, hey, one topic at a time, right? He's not talking about himself. He's talking about you. So when the Republicans say, hey, we've got to calm down on the rhetoric, they're not talking about themselves. They're talking about you. They're talking about the left. They're talking about all of the people who are quite correctly talking and pointing to Trump's authoritarian streak that he's going through, putting troops in cities, ignoring laws, ignoring judges, and accurately pointing out the dangers of doing so as being dangerous and wounding the institutions that we rely on to uphold the values of society. He is, they want you to stop doing that. They're not talking about themselves. And this whole thing that, the left is responsible for most of the violence, get out of here. Like, seriously, don't even start. The right is absolutely responsible for the most violence. It can be backed up with various statistics. I went to Pew Research. They backed it up. The right is responsible for the most violence. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not saying all of the right is to blame for that. No, I'm just saying that that's where it comes from and that they're just lying.
The left decided they would not, under any circumstances, condemn their own ambulatory psychotics because...
Like, I don't understand their ambulatory psychotics. Like who, Ben? Like Mandami? He's not, like, who are you to say these people are suffering from psychosis? What is your credentials for saying that? This is ridiculous. Like, he has basically just said, well, I don't like what these people say. You've got to condemn them for being psychotic. What? What? Are there people on the left who maybe they even do suffer from psychosis, but maybe they do things like, attack Charlie Kirk? Yes, I condemned that. I never condoned political violence, ever. And largely the left has condemned political violence. You know who doesn't? The Republicans from their side. They condone the political violence on the left, but they don't for the right. They just say, hey, it was a mad person. It was somebody mad.
Because those people were part of their coalition, and they couldn't do it, or they would lose. And you know what ended up happening? The alligator ate them first.
Who?
Not last. They ended up being taken over by the crazy wing.
I seriously think, I'm with you, Bionic Latino. I'm with you. He is projecting because the GOP literally got taken over by the MAGA movement, by the people that, have no idea what's going on. And the alligator ate you first. Yeah, it's like the people in MAGA right now who are like, my husband got deported. I didn't think this would happen. It's kind of like that thing of the leopard ate my face. There is still a branch of the GOP headed up by the Lincoln Project criticizing everything that the GOP has become. There are ex-GOP members, very respected members, who are basically like, this isn't the Republican Party anymore. It's the MAGA movement. So he is just projecting what has happened. Now, I don't have a lot great to say about the Democrats either. I think that they screwed Bernie. They are too heavily involved with the Wall Street and corporations, and they take way too much corporate money. I don't think they get a free pass on being, blameless either for the state of politics in America. But they're a hell of a lot better than a guy who is currently sending troops against the law, I might add, into cities. Like the actual armed forces, the National Guard, into cities against every law, who is currently who is suing the Department of Justice. The president is suing the Department of Justice, his own Department of Justice. Like I don't, there is being influenced by too much corporate money, and then there is just outright breaking the law flagrantly, wantonly, without any semblance of a blush on your face.
Because if you lose your systemic immunity to crazy, crazy tends to be really, really, really infectious. Okay, first of all, let's just...
Crazy is not infectious. Okay, it's not. It's not. You might disagree with the ideas, but having a different idea from you is not crazy. Okay? Just because Mandami believes in socialist values and wants to do, food and for poor people and, provide free bus fare to encourage people to... That doesn't mean they're crazy, okay? And this is the rhetoric that they're using is just ridiculous. You're not a psychologist. No psychologist is saying that people on the left are crazy. Even people that are communist, right? Just say you're left-wing communist. I disagree with them. I don't like communism. I think it's never worked. I think that the nature of the way that humans get corrupted, it won't work. However, I don't think they're crazy. And I disagree with people on the right, like people like Trump. I don't think they're crazy. I just think they're wrong. This is the thing that he's saying. It's wild. It's just wild.
Be clear about something. There's this weird idea on the right that the left wins because they're totally unified and they completely side with one another. The left is not winning. I know that we are sort of a depressive right, that we've gotten addicted to the depressive. The left is not winning. Donald Trump has been president those times.
Yeah, and the reason why that is because he basically manipulated people. He lied to them. Like, the reason why he won the first time was that, and apart from Hillary being incredibly unpopular, mostly because of her connections to Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, she's just not a very likable person in the first place. Like, there's a lot of reasons why. I didn't like Hillary because of her links to corporate money and Wall Street. I didn't like it. Not that I had a choice in it, of course, but that's why I didn't like her. That she stepped to the beat of the corporate drum, and that was the priority for her. Bleh. Okay. Second time, he promised everything under the freaking sun. He promised that interest would go down. He promised that America wouldn't get involved in any other wars. He promised that he would take action against Russia. He promised that Project 2025 wouldn't be implemented. All of them were lies. He lied outright to them. That's why there is so much right-wing regret right now. Because most of the people are saying, hey, he's doing everything. He promised not to touch healthcare. He promised that he would have a better healthcare plan for everybody. He made these promises that he has no intention of fulfilling. Zero intention. And that's why the regret exists. It's because he had no intention of doing it. But like, oh yeah, they're winning. Just because you're winning doesn't mean you're doing it in a fair way, right? That's like saying, hey, Putin has won so many elections lately. He's winning. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean he's doing it in the moral correct way. It doesn't mean he is doing the right thing. It just means that he's the one on top.
Two times. Republicans are in control of the Senate. Republicans are in control of the House. Republicans are in control of the majority of governors' mansions.
Yeah, but you won't blame them for how the country is going, right? Like, they're the ones closing the Department of Labor so nobody can see the economic statistics that show that America is in absolute freefall. And yes, it is. The statistics that we've got shows that the economy is in a downturn, which is exactly what happens when you get into a trade war with the entire world. Trump has started a trade war with the planet. Do you realize what is going to happen? I don't know how to, and this is from a guy who said that day one, inflation would come down. It would come right down. And I mean, you're talking about a guy who stands up in front of a podium and says that he's going to drop drug prices by 300%. That means that when you go to get a drug, twice the price of that drug is just given to you over the counter and you get the drug. That's what that means. That's the kind of lie that, I'm really sorry, but people with no education, no understanding of things is just going to believe because he said it's ridiculous. Like, that is stupid. It's a lie, but you can't acknowledge it because you're all aboard the MAGA train.
Republicans are in control of the majority of state legislatures. The left is not winning because of their unity. They are being destroyed because of the thing I'm talking about happening on the right. Because they decided that the nut jobs and the radicals in their own party could not be condemned under any circumstances. They decided to feature Ilhan Omar on the cover of magazines and unite around the crazy college protesters and the BLM.
The college protesters are not crazy. They see people dying in Palestine and condemn the Israeli government, like a lot of countries do, like a lot of politicians do. Just because you're on board with the Israeli government and you think the Israeli government is great, doesn't mean that everybody is crazy for not believing that. Netanyahu has been convicted, there's a warrant out for him for committing war crimes by The Hague. And that might mean nothing to you, but that doesn't mean the people that investigated and found that he was firing on civilians, pretending to be Red Crescent against international law, it doesn't mean they're crazy. There is substantiated instances of the government implicitly targeting civilians, and that is not cool. It's so weird. This is so weird. You can't just reduce people's objection to genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza as crazy.
Rioters and the transgender radicals. And guess what? They got their asses kicked because of it. Yes, they didn't expect.
Yeah, no, just be a bigot then. Yeah, no, just be bigoted. They're not radicals. They're listening to the actual medical people who study this. Why do you get to decide who's radical and who's not? This is the thing. And I don't think, they've succeeded because, people's listened to. No, they have been spewing this hatred for ages, blaming trans people and immigrants for everything they possibly can. Much like a certain guy in Germany did with the Jewish people. How did that start? He blamed the Jews for everything. It's the same thing, just a different subject. That the trans people are responsible for the, collapse of the economy. That it's immigrants that is the reason why you can't find jobs. No, it's not. No, it's not. You are out of your mind. Out of your mind.
Expel people from their party, but moderates walked away. The non-crazy walked away. This is the dirty little secret of how Donald Trump won the election of 2024. He ran as a moderate. People who were moderate picked him.
He lied to be a moderate, though. He absolutely lied. That's the dirty little secret. He ran as a moderate, knowing that he was not going to fulfill any of the promises he made. Like the moderate promise, I'm going to continue Obamacare, I'm going to preserve your health system. It was a lie. He ran as a moderate. He said, I have no idea what Project 2025 is. It was a lie. Some of the people who created Project 2025 are in the government right now. They've been given positions in the government. It was a lie. He promised that he would reduce the inflation on day one. He would be fiscally conservative, a moderate promise. It was a lie. He's now giving $20 billion to Argentina. It was a lie. He promised that he would only crack down on all of the bad immigrants, the ones that had committed crimes. Yeah, a moderate promise. It was a lie, right? Like, this is the thing. Yes, he pretended to be a moderate, while all the while knowing that he was going to engage in extreme right behavior. That's a problem. Why don't you see the problem there? He lied. He absolutely pretended that his perspective was moderate, while absolutely was an extreme right person. Like, he's basically saying, hey, it's a great thing he pretended and fooled all of the American people that he was a moderate. It was fantastic. That's why we won. Yeah, he lied his ass off. Congratulations, Ben. Congratulations. Yeah. You know what the thing is about doing that kind of thing is? The backlash. When they realize that he isn't a moderate at all. He's not looking out for their jobs. He's not looking out for these things. He has no intention of following the rule of law. The backlash is going to come when people realize that he is not who he said he was before the election. That is when the backlash starts. And you, my friend, have been front, center, rallying him on. You are part of the idiots that put him where he is. And when the backlash comes, it's going to come for you, sir. And rightly so. Rightly so. And I look forward to the day where you cannot be an extreme right fascist openly and get away with it. I long for that day where you just can't be a prick, an absolute bigoted, misogynistic, anti-Semitic, racist piece of crap out in the open again, where that has consequences, as you say there should be, yet there doesn't seem to be.
Above the unified left that was siding with all of their radicals and defending all of their radicals and massaging all of their radicals. Because it turns out this is a very big country.
No, we defend people. People, Ben. It doesn't matter. Like, we don't go, this is how different the right and the left are. The right say, that's not my people. Get them. Attack them. Take them down. Take them out. Gas chambers for everybody, as we saw in that chat. That's how they think. The left go, those people are suffering, we've got to help them. Those trans people, they are suffering, we've got to help them. Like, this is the behavior of the right. Like, those people don't deserve help, they're not us, they are something other. What we believe is that everybody deserves human dignity. They deserve food, they deserve comfort, they deserve warmth, love, compassion, everybody. Oof.
An awful lot of people, and the vast majority of them are not loon bags. And the vast majority of them don't like the lunacy. And beyond that, we need to be real.
Well, they only see it as lunacy because Fox News and your idiot Daily Wire pumps it out at an egregious thing. Like, trans people are less than 1% of the population. They do not cause any problems at all. Like, this whole thing is just a let's get these people and make them to blame. We can't win on policy. Let's do identity politics. That is essentially what they did.
About the agenda of many of the people who are continuing to rely on the kindness of the quote-unquote traditional Republicans who quote-unquote don't want to attack right. Well, that's all.
Yeah, so, and keep in mind, this is all over. And did you see what he did there? Right? Like, he basically went from, hey, people should be held accountable for what they say, right, to, you know, to going over to Democrats and saying Democrats are to blame for all of this stuff. How did you get there, Ben? How did you get from the topic of people in a chat are saying, I love Hitler, to Democrats support people who are on the left that they shouldn't support? How did you get there? How did you get there? I don't understand at all how you got there. And the weird confliction between what he says. Like, oh, you expect all of the GOP to call out these right-wing elements when they say this kind of stuff. They shouldn't have to. And then he goes on to say, if somebody says something egregious, you ought to call them out. How do those two ideas come? Oh, I see. One is applied to the left and one is applied to the right. So when someone says something egregious on the right, he will go, oh, you can't expect everybody in the party to call out these people who have said egregious things. But when somebody says something even slightly contentious on the left, he will expect everybody to be against them, even if it is the idea. It's not even that egregious. The stuff, Mandami? What has he said that's so egregious that everybody on the left should call him out? What's not in line with their values of, you know, helping poor people? Or, I don't know, providing free public transport? What is so egregious? A freeze on rent because people cannot afford their rent. Like, what is so, like you said, he was supporting terrorism. Is that the terrorism? Like trying to stop homelessness? Oh, I see a super chat. A super chat? Oh, it's a member chat. Yeah, no, my apologies. My apologies. We got a reader in the house. Thank you so much, Jester Member, for 21 months. Level, commentator, message. Ben has a great answer for that. The best answer. Everyone knows the answer is the best answer. It's a great answer. Everyone, you know, you yourself know that Ben Shapiro has the best answer for that. Everyone's talking about it. You've never even seen it before. Yeah. Wow. But not affirmation. People need help, but not affirmation. Trans people need help. Read the CAST report. I'm not familiar with that one. But, you know, affirmation is, to my mind, as long as we just accept that they are in society and they have a right to be in society and not try to exclude them from society for just being who they are. You know, I don't know what you mean by affirmation. Like, if you're saying, hey, you've got to affirm that all trans people are good people. No. They're individuals. Some will be good, some will be bad. Just like, look, one thing I've always said, there's no monopoly on assholes. There will be trans people who are terrible people. That will happen. But that doesn't mean we don't affirm trans people in general as having a right to be in society, having a right to be who they are, having a right for food, comfort, all of these different things, a right to express themselves. That is, you know, that is what our society is made out of. You have the right to express yourself. I have the right to express yourself. I think it draws a line with hate speech. If a trans person is saying, hey, all cis people are terrible and need to be thrown out of society, then yeah, I got a problem there, right? That's not cool. If someone is saying, hey, all Christians are terrible people, they need to be, sent to a chamber, then yeah, I got a problem with that. And I will condemn that kind of speech. But that doesn't mean that somebody doesn't have the right to express themselves saying, hey, Christianity is real and I follow the Lord Jesus all my... Hey, they've got a right to express that. I'm fine with that. The problem comes where you implement that as necessary. You've got to follow Jesus. I have these religious beliefs that you have to follow, even though you're not part of that. No one is expecting you to become trans. This whole rhetoric about forcing children to be trans is bullshit. It's just a lie. No one's doing that. Yeah, I don't know what the cast report is. When no, 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 no. That's not right. Medical interventions, puberty blockers was weak with no good evidence. No. The medical association called the public critique group later initiated their own evaluation of it. Um, Yeah, no, this report is contentious, including from the British Medical Association, which is the led by Hilary Cast, a retired consultant pediatrician, the former president of the Royal College. Yep. Systematic review, quality care condition inadequate. It was published without peer review in March of 2022. Did it get peer reviewed? Was it peer reviewed? The report said that GRDS approach was based upon a Dutch protocol. Stupid change of problem. Then yeah, this one's contentious, really contentious. Conflicting clinical views. Was not peer reviewed. Its implementation by NHS. I'm not familiar with this one, but it doesn't seem to be one that's been endorsed by the... Of course, it wasn't peer reviewed. No. So it's a systematic report. So it's not actually a paper that's been published. It's it's actually just a report by some people. Um, the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists rejected calls for trans health, characterising it as one review among several in the field. They emphasised that assessment and treatment should be patient-centred, evidence-informed, and responsive to and supportive of the child or the young person's needs, and that psychiatrists have a responsibility to counter stigma and discrimination, which is fair. That's fair. So this isn't anything peer-reviewed. It is a report by one thingo, and there's a lot of conflicting reports that have come out with it. So why should I be listening to this one particularly? Exactly? I'm not 100% sure. This seems like sort of biased to me. You're looking at one report and not at the others. The American Psychological Association stated they were studying the CAS report, but stand by their position and statement of gender-affirming care. Some activists in the UK finding stating a lack of evidence. Both in the UK and internationally disagree with the report's methodology and findings. Most controversial recommendations are based upon prejudice rather than evidence. Yeah, no. So researchers have disagreed with it. I don't think this would even pass peer review if it wasn't a report. I think that they have not gotten any kind of high quality evidence, haven't have based it upon. No, it's not. No, what are you talking about? A system? No. So the Rand Corporation, a US-based research institute, released its own systematic reviews into treatments of trans and gender-expansive young people, in which it described several similarities and differences between its own approach and that of the CAS review. The report rated the existing evidence bases as having low and very low certainty, but also found treatments to be low risk and with little evidence of side effects, regret, or dissatisfaction. It said that the CAS review was highly comprehensive, but said its findings may have limited applicability outside the context of the NHS. So basically, they're saying, hey, they're very low findings. So that was a study into the study. So they did their own systematic review into that included. So if systematic is the highest standard, then the systematic review about the CAS report is the higher standard, which they came out to have very low kind of evidence to support what their conclusions are. So, it is done. There's been real high pushback on this one as far as I can see. So no. And it may just be applicable to the inside of the NHS, which, I would leave it to the NHS to make their own determinations, including what that report says. I wouldn't sort of say, hey, that's got to be applied to other countries' healthcare systems. But what's interesting is you're sort of saying, hey, look at this one report, not any of the others, and that's what I find really weird. Like, why don't we look at the other reports? Why don't we look at all the other reports that have come out? Why this one in particular are you talking about? Because there's been multiple ones that all disagree with this one. So why don't they get a a sort of, why don't they get a say in how it's going? Especially, and I'll find the name of it actually. Especially the report that covered this one. Why doesn't that get a say, kind of thing? Why? Why is it just this one? Um, the Rand Corporation one. So there was one written by the Rand Corporation. So why are we looking at just this one when we've got another one coming out in 2024? And in 2024, over 200 educational psychologists signed an open letter to the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. It expressed concerns about the process and findings of the CAS review, so the processes of it. And so it seems like there's a real big problem of bias within this report. On May 2025, a critical evaluation of the CAS report and its 7 commissioned reviews was published in BMC Medical Research Methodology using an independent risk of bias ROBIS tool. The evaluation identified a high risk of bias in all 7 reviews, as well as methodological flaws, unsubstantiated claims, and misrepresentations of evidence. So it looks like that the Medical Research Methodology Journal is calling this a piece of crap, quite frankly. And I can get you a link to yeah, so when they researchers on methodology, right? Methodology. Okay, so it just shows how much you don't know, Geronimus, how much you're unaware of, because that, do you know what that is? Do no harm. Do you know what that is? Do you have any idea what that is? Do you have any idea? Do no harm. What is that? Do you know? Do you even know? If you've read about it so much, then you should know, right? Starts with a H. And maybe contains an African animal. Hippocratic oath. Yeah, well done. Well done. Hippocratic oath, right? So doctors don't take the Hippocratic oath anymore. They take the oath of Geneva, right? We don't do the Hippocratic oath. Do no harm, right? The Hippocratic oath is not good because sometimes in order, what the oath of Geneva says is do what is in the best interest of your patient. Look up the oath of Geneva. It is the one doctors take now, because sometimes you have to do harm in the best interest of your patient. Sometimes you've got to amputate because that is in the best interest of your patient. Sometimes you've got to administer chemotherapy, put poison into somebody, because that is in the best interest of your patient. The oath of Geneva is what they take now. Because if you do no harm, your patient may die. So you don't know what you're talking about. You have 4 university degrees. Okay, well, but having university degrees does not stop you from being wrong. So if you're saying, well, I'm right because I've got degrees, I really worry about you. But I don't really want to get into this in this current chat. Like, if you want to debate, I'm happy to debate. But you better do some reading, because doctors do not take the Hippocratic Oath anymore. They take the Oath of Geneva. And there's a very good reason for that. There's a very good reason for that. The Declaration of Geneva. It was instituted after for the World Medical Association after World War II. Let's go through it. The Physician's Pledge. Hold it. I'll share my screen just so you can be aware of how wrong you are. How incredibly wrong you are. I want you to know how wrong you are. This is great. As a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge my life to dedicate my life to the service of humanity. The health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not permit considerations of age, disease, or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me even after the patient has died. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity and in accordance with good medical practice. I will foster the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession. I will give to my teachers, colleagues, and students the respect and gratitude that is their due. I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and for the advancement of healthcare. I will attend to my own health, well-being, and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. That is what they follow now. That is what they follow, because do no harm is useless. Sometimes in order to save your patient, you have to do harm. That is the reality that doctors face every day. And, doing the best for your patient, when you're looking at, okay, my patients we are losing them at a massive rate. We are losing them at a massive rate. Now, when neurologists investigate, what happens is that we find that the neurological system of the brain of trans people fall within a parameter that is more like the opposite genetic sex that they have been born with. I can show you studies about this. So how we respond to that, the doctors have to respond not with, is this good for society? It's not, is there political ramifications for this? It isn't like, oh, what do we do if these right-wing people say that it's them just being... No, they do what is best for their patient always, because they have sworn an oath to do so. And good thing too. I wish more doctors would uphold that oath, because what is best for them is not to lose them. First and foremost, keep them alive. And that's been a problem. What do we do? The last time I asked a right-wing person, what do we do about trans people? We're losing them to self-harm and taking themselves out. The last thing that I got told was, well, it seems like a self-correcting problem. That's what I was told by a right-winger. Do you think a doctor can accept that? Do you think that is the best thing for them? No. No. Oh, look, he's got a right to say whatever he wants. It's just I really object to the whole idea of saying, hey, I'm right because I've got degrees, as being ridiculous. Like, seriously. And the whole idea that you're right, that's fine. I'm not being condescending. I'm just saying that, hey, the Hippocratic Oath is not the one that doctors use anymore, for good reason. For good reason. Because we have to do harm. I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying that I've heard all kinds of responses. But, just sort of picking out one study and going, oh, we got to follow that one, especially when tons of other institutions have said, and even a methodology institution has said, hey, their methodology is bad, is not a good study to bring up. It's not. Because if the people that study methodology are saying, hey, there is all kinds of bias in this, then you've got problems. I'm really sorry, but you do. And the fact that it isn't a peer-reviewed study and rather an internal system report about their own processes within the NHS, that's a real problem, because they're not pointing to peer-reviewed studied medicine, they're pointing to system approaches. So they might point at things. It's just not a good thing to use for saying, hey, this is why this should happen. It's not a high-handed tone, Dron. Look, just me disagreeing with you doesn't mean I'm taking a high-handed tone. I just think that the study that you've pointed out has massive problems with it that even people that study methodology have pointed out. It's not a high-handed tone. That's just a fact. I don't know why you're saying this. It's like I disagree with you, so I must be high-handed. So yeah, drop it, because seriously, to me disagreeing is not high-handed. It is simply looking up your claim and finding that the report that you've said to look up has massive problems with it, including methodology. That is not high-handed. That's a fact. And like, you can be sensitive if you want, but hey, I disagree. nothing high-handed about it. It's just me reading into what it is that you put there. Like you say, look at this study. And when I look at this study and see all the problems it's got with you, you're now saying, oh, well, there's no need to disagree with me. What? Seriously, if you continue down this route, I swear to God, like, seriously, stop now. Like, I looked up the thing you wanted me to look up, and just because I'm not agreeing with you, I'm being high-handed. Stop now, seriously. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm asking why we should pay attention to one systemic report and not, for instance, the Rand Corporation that studied that study. That's what I'm wondering. And all of the people that are objecting to it. And not just including like trans rights people. I'm talking about, methodology papers, like journals. I don't know. It's very strange. But, if you want to take offense at me reading out, that's on you, mate. That's your problem, not mine. That's not my problem. If you want to then claim, oh, I'm familiar with do no harm, when that isn't what's used by doctors anymore, that's not my problem either. Okay, that's not my problem. Okay, I'm telling you that they use the Oath of Geneva for exactly that reason, because sometimes you have to do harm in the best interests of your patients. That's what I'm telling you. I don't know how to disagree with you and still like you not say, oh, well, you're a... Okay, well, if that's the case, I would sue your comments for slander, quite frankly. Hey, Tori. Well, I was going to wrap up anyway. I think that'll about do it. I'm not... I try not to debate in chat, but hey, sometimes it just happens. So my apologies. If you want to debate, that's fine. Email me. We can. I've got to send an email over to some people to see if I can set something up for them as well. If you think I'm being condescending, that's entirely upon you. I don't have any control over that. I don't have any control over that. You can be as offended as you want. Go for it. Sorry, Tori. I'm just wrapping up. It is a delight to see you, though. Oh, asked where the do no harm comes from? Yeah, well, I mean, you said that you knew all about it, so, I just wondered if you knew where it came from. If you knew the history of the doctor's oath and how it has changed over the years. Because if you knew where it comes from Hippocrates, ancient Greece, right? Like, it is incredibly old. Do no harm comes from ancient Greece. Like most things from ancient Greece, we've had a bit of an update since then. So my next question was, are you aware that they don't use it anymore? Okay. Next story. Okay, well, that'll about do it. Don't forget, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You don't have to... If you believe something that is different, you don't have to be named an ambulatory psychotic, which is what Ben Shapiro does. If you have views, you don't have to take that on. We can be kind to each other. Just because someone, like, I think Ben Shapiro, I vehemently disagree with him. I would never call him an ambulatory psychotic. I think he's complete wrong. I think he's too beholden to the Israeli government. I think that he has extremely right-wing views that I think he doesn't care about other people as much as he should, but I don't use that language towards people. I don't lump everybody in with that. Now, there may very well be psychotics on the left. I'm not saying... But to lump everybody, that's just wrong. Come on now. And it's following the right wing saying we've got to tone down on this inflammatory language about each other. I agree. But then you have Ben Shapiro coming out and calling everybody on the left, saying that Mondami is supporting terrorism. Seriously. Which makes me believe, for good reason, that they think that we should tone down on our rhetoric, but they go hog wild. It's this kind of thing is just terrible. But take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, what have I got coming up? Well, tomorrow I've got to be on a little thing that's coming up. It is a fundraiser. Okay, it's a fundraiser for a few of the community who are doing it rough. It is going to be fun, sort of a fun sort of how would I describe it? Just a casual stream. There's going to be a lot of creators there, some big creators. I will grab you a link. I will grab you a link so you can be there. There's the link for the fundraiser tomorrow, which I will be a part of. Come on, we're just gonna have fun. Basically, we're just gonna have fun. Well, let's do the trailer. Why not? I feel good about this. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey there,
Oh,
lovely
no.
ghouls and gentle ghosts. On October 24th at 7 p.m. Central,
Why
we're
is
hosting
that?
a delightfully silly Halloween fundraiser for Sadie Hergert, Cosmic Kyle, and Ember. 3 humans, probably, who deserve your support. Skip the candy corn. Everyone knows it's sweet chalk, so toss a few bucks our way instead. Your donation keeps Skeptic Haven weird, wise, and wonderfully witchy. Thank you, sweet skeptics.
All right, so that is on Skeptic Haven. That's on Skeptic Haven. Come along. We're just going to have some fun. No, nothing important. Just some Halloween fun. And just help out some of the community if you can. So be kind to yourself. Don't destroy yourself. Don't rescue, which is, hurting yourself trying to help others. But if you can, please do try and support the community. I know I'll be over there giving my time and probably my sanity trying to get the Halloween thing going. Yes, Ember, Sadie, and Kyle. I don't know Sadie and Kyle, but I'm sure they are wonderful human beings who deserve love and support, as we all do. So I will be there. On Sunday, we'll have the debate review. I haven't even chosen the debate we're doing, so it's all up in the air. It's all going on. It's all too much stuff for me to do, but that's okay. I will survive. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.
She got